We're going to start off in a nice seated position, and if you have any type of bolster or blocks or towels or blankets, because we will be in a lot of seated positions today. However, we will be in some standing positions because the focus is on our feet. In particular, I was just doing some reading last week, and this one particular one jumped out on us. So it's in regards to witnessing, and think about it, like how can anyone hear the great news if we don't witness to them? And they talk about our feet. So with this, let's just place our hands nice and comfortable onto our thighs. Bring your little angel wings, touch underneath. And if you like, you can close your eyes. And we're just going to really connect to our breath, that life force of ours. And God breathed life into us. Just so inhale through your nose. And then just exhale through your nose. Just in your own, no concerted way, no type of patterns yet. Just kind of release from what you're doing today. And just to feel as your inhalation becomes a little bit extended slightly. And then as you exhale, just allow your navel to go to your spine. Because we are all in our own room, as we inhale here through our nose, we're going to actually exhale through our mouth as if you're blowing out through a straw. So nice slowly. So you're not trying to puff it out there, but just slowly. So just imagine as you inhale through your nose, exhale through your mouth through like a straw. And continue your breathing pattern this way. So inhalation through your nose and exhalation through your mouth, but through the straw. And you're going to notice how your exhale becomes a lot longer. So we're being able to extend that, get to stimulate our parasympathetic nervous system. Set your own intention here, what you want out of today's practice. You can just open up your eyes and let's just extend our feet in front of us. So if you had it in a nice comfortable sit position or cross-legged position, just extend it out a little bit and just allow it to go into the hip socket. So as you kind of windshield wiper just your feet, not your legs, but just the feet. So the ankles kind of going back and forth. I want you to take notice of how your feet feel, and then at your ankles, even perhaps your knees, and then at the hips. So you're not going to feel much at the hips. This is just kind of rotating within the joint. Excellent. And as you look at your toes, and you kind of wiggle your toes, so I want you guys waving at me with your toes. I think you guys are already wearing socks. That's not fair. See your toes. You're going to have to take off your socks later on. Good. All right, now spread them out wide. Toes out really wide. All right. Very good. All right, let's just bend your knees. We're going to just get into, let's just do a little bit of yoga. We're just do some cat-cows. Just get onto your hands and knees. And so your knees are directly underneath your hips. Hands are directly underneath your shoulders, shoulder width apart. Index finger up toward the top. And then just do some cat-cows. So inhale, drop your belly down, lifting your tailbone up. Gaze comes up as your shoulder blades come toward each other. As you exhale, go into reverse as you tuck your tailbone down slightly. Your chin comes to your chest and your spine arched outward. And just go to your own breath cycle. Really feel each individual vertebrae working. So we all have something different that we're working on. All right, so once you're there, back into tabletop. If you have a bolster or a block, you're more than welcome, especially if your wrists are not comfortable, you can always bring a bolster or some sort, pillows. You can put it here and then go onto your forearm. So I just want to give options here, okay? Um, or you can even choose to be up there, or like I said, back into our normal tabletop. Let's extend our right foot straight back behind us. Your right toes are still tucked. So keep your heel straight. So sometimes it wants to rotate outward or inward. I want you to press into the big toe mound and then press back with your heel. So you're feeling a little bit of stretch there, but you're really still activating those toes, that big toe muscle. Can you feel that? Breathe here. Yoga is all about the breath, so continue breathing here. And release. And again, if depending on what you're using options, you can always relax your wrists and make any motion there. And now we're going to extend our left foot back. So your right knee is directly underneath your right hip. Your left leg is extended straight back. So keep it at hip width apart. And then again, make sure your heel's not rotating inward or outward. It's not pronating or anything like that. And then press into that big toe mound and pretend you're kind of like trying to push your mat back behind you. So even with the heel, feel a little bit of muscles gripping in there. Now you're not gripping your jaw or anything like that, so just continue breathing here. And excellent. So now we're just going to tuck our toes slightly underneath us into our first downward facing dog. And you may feel how your ankle needs to be stretched a little bit. So you can just alternate between the two feet by bending one knee, extending one heel toward the mat, and then alternating it by bending the other heel, bending other knee and extending the other heel toward the mat. So just feel what feels good. You can feel the toes starting to really open up more, your knees, legs. And we're going to slowly walk up to the top of your mat. And then we're in our forward fold. Want to just grab the opposite elbow. Going to ragdoll, so you can completely relax it. It's completely fine. In fact, especially at the very beginning, bend your knees a lot. Feel what happens as you're allowed to open up the lower back. Feel your breath as you expand. You can feel that back ribs expanding. If you want, you can kind of rock, like I like to call it, rock the little cradle, kind of rock it back and forth, your elbows. All right, slowly, we're going to engage your core, and we're slowly starting to roll up. Up, up, up into mountain pose. So how beautiful on the mountains are the feet of those who bring good news. All right, so just typical mountain pose. Your feet, outside your feet are parallel to the side of your mat. And we're just going to inhale our arms all the way up toward the sky, toward heaven, reach up, praise God. And slight little back bend, but really feel your feet. Feel where it's positioned on the ground. Inhale back center. And exhale your hands to heart center. So we're just going to be standing down there. Open up your arms so that your shoulder blades are tucked back underneath into its place, those angel wings. And as you're standing here just in mountain, I'd like for you to now either, if you feel comfortable, close your eyes. So if you close your eyes, you're going to be a lot more aware of where most of the pressure on your feet are. So perhaps you might be leaning on one foot more than the other foot, or perhaps you're noticing that you're slightly pronating in. More of the weight is coming on the inward side. So we have those press points. So can you feel it along the heels, and then on the big toe, and then on near where the pinky toe balls of the feet, the foot is feet. Now, when you're doing this, can you feel where your knees are doing? So if it's hyperextending, slightly give a micro bend to your knees. Now, I'd like for you to sense your breath. So as you're standing here in mountain pose, are you able to connect with your breath the same way we were at the very beginning? And you try to have your weight evenly distributed between the 2 feet. And if it's a lot different, that's okay, no judgment. I mean, we may have a habit of putting more pressure on one side than the other side. And once we're aware of it, we can correct ourselves. Now, if you feel comfortable, you can always keep your eyes closed. But if this time, I'd like for you to press your big toes into the mat. Really, really feel an exaggeration as you press your big toes into the mat. So still keep your weight on at the heel so you're not leaning forward completely. So when you're pressing in with your big toes, perhaps you sense maybe the arch of one foot a little bit more open than the other foot. I know I'm imbalanced between my 2 feet. And then release that. And then I'd like for you to press your pinky toe into the mat. And release that. And then if you need to, you can actually look down at your feet. So big toe down, pinky toe down at the same time. Keep breathing, I know, right? And you noticing anything going on with your fingers while you're doing this? All right, so let's raise all your toes up in the air. So you're putting a lot more weight into your heels and at the balls of your feet. Raise the toes up. Can you spread them out? Great. Inhale your arms all the way up again. And as you exhale, we're going to come slowly down into that forward fold. Big toes are still, all your toes are still pointing upward. And if you want, you can place your fingers between your toes. So interlace your fingers into your toes. Doing a padottanasana, so kind of like you're doing your hands to foot. Getting a little bit of stretch in our hamstring. And we're being kind, so perhaps you're only at the tips of your fingers between the toes first. We're going to be seated when we do this later on. You're going to inhale your hands to your shin, nice flat back. Turn your head toward the front. Exhale, gonna bend our knees, come all the way down. So again, you can either sit onto your bolster or your on the ground, for whichever is comfortable for you. So back to what we were doing beforehand. So we're gonna just exaggerate 1 foot at a time, but you can do this both at the same time. So if you're sitting on a bolster or directly onto the mat, okay. I don't know if you guys can see this. Just have your soles of your feet touching the floor on your mat, okay? Now, I'm just gonna focus on the left foot right now for sake of argument. I want you to check to see where your arch is along there. If your the mound of your big foot, of your big toe on the ground, I'd like for you to try to press that mound into the mat. Pretend that you're trying to pull it towards you. First of all, you're probably feeling your calf muscle activating, but perhaps you're feeling something right along here and then underneath where the arch area is. Can you feel that? And when you're ready with that one, then you're going to try the same thing on the right foot. So if you did one foot, or if you're able to do both foot, that's fine. So same thing. So you have the sole, the entire sole of your right foot on the floor. Then you kind of press your right mound into the big toe into the ground, and as if you're trying to drag it towards you, and not the heel. So the heel is nice and grounded. So when you're doing that, perhaps into the muscle where the arch muscle is. So I'm feeling it even in front of my shin, but also the muscle in front of the foot, especially around the arch area. So I notice that my right foot is a lot weaker than my left foot. And this also probably explains why I'm noticing that I have a slight little bunion on my right foot. So with that, the muscle, the reason why bunions occur is when then there's more pressure into that the ball of that foot, and then it starts jutting outwards. So trying to keep those muscles toned. Because I definitely don't wear high heels and anything like that, so that's not the cause for my bunion, but definitely it's not working that particular muscle. All right, good. All right, so here's a nice part on our feet. So I'm going to get back onto my bolster. So we're going to have our left foot on the ground and keep it a little bit further away, and we're going to just bring our right foot up. So if you want our right foot ankle is going to be right on top of the left thigh area. Touch that right foot here. And as you're sitting here, and you can be even on a couch or a chair, whichever is most comfortable, whatever makes it more accessible, you're going to have your left fingers interlaced between your toes. Does that make sense? So your left thumb is on the outside of your right big toe. Your pointer finger is in between the big toe and the second toe, and then so on. So you're interlacing it. Now, if by chance you don't do a lot of yoga toes, this might be excruciating, or maybe if you run a lot and you're in shoes a lot, this could be hard. So if it's, don't force anything. So you can always start at the tips of your fingers, because they're a little bit thinner, and you can be at the top part of your toes, and then perhaps slowly you can bring it in some more. Okay, so what we're going to do here is I'd like for you to just focus on the big toe right now. So in anything you think about it, and especially when it comes to witnessing, just the true appreciation of what we're of why. I mean, first of all, so let's just give a full attention to each individual toe. So this big toe here, I'd like for you to use your thumb and your index finger and just kind of pull it up, kind of like pulling it out of the joint slightly. I mean, I don't want anyone yanking their toes out there, but trying to like extend it upwards, just giving a nice little space. Keep breathing. And as you do that, it's kind of like pull it up, raise it up. If you want, you can kind of like move it up to the tip of the toe. Excellent. And now when you got the very tip of the toe, have it bend it backwards, so it's trying to do its own little back bend. Almost like how we were flexing those toes. And then I'd like for you to later on, after you do a couple breath counts, do 3 nice breath counts. And I'd like for you to bring it into the reverse. Now I'm going to try to point it downward, as if you're trying to pop that knuckle, the big toe knuckle. Now, while your left hand is pulling that big toe down, use your right hand, if it's accessible to you, and pull on that second toe that's just sticking out there. So again, pull it straight upward as the big toe is pointing down. Couple breaths here. And if you want, you can have it pull upward to do that little back bend, but you're noticing that this toe really does not back bend a little bit. So it's almost like this toe, I feel like we're doing this little piggy. Mark it. And then have it go in reverse. So the big toe is going back bend. The second toe is now bending downward. So you're trying to pop that knuckle. And if it pops, that's completely fine. But that's not the objective. So you don't need to try to force it. Okay, release. So now we're going to go to your third toe. You're going to pull third toe all the way up. So we're going to pull it up out of the socket slightly, nice and gentle, not forcing anything here. We're going to allow that to go into its little back bend. Do your nice little 3-breath cycle. And then as you allow it to come pull it downward, then you can grab that second toe and pull it into its back bend. So you see how we're spreading the fascias in between these toes. So think about it. How many people actually clean between their toes? So if you're seeing a lot of lint in your socks, imagine, I remember little babies find things that they kind of grasp and then get caught between. Beautiful. Pull that one out. And then lastly, but not least, is, whoops, still got the fourth toe. Pull it straight up. See, isn't that awful? I forgot about the little piggy that had none. So we got to pull that little piggy up there. Have it go into its little back bend. Pull that third toe downward in opposite direction. Gentle. Keep breathing. And go in reverse. So the fourth toe comes down and the third toe goes in its back bend. That feels really good. And release that one. And then a little dinky little piggy. So pull him straight up. And as we notice how this toe, the pinky toe, tends to have a lot of motion. So it can actually be very distant from the rest of them. We're going to give it some love and kindness here. Have it go into its back bend. Then you can grab that fourth toe and have it bend forward. And go in reverse. Release. Now, I'd like for you to stick that right foot right in front again. You maybe just the heels in the ground. Now, I'd like for you to now try to spread out those toes again. Can you take notice? Doesn't it seem like it can spread out a lot more than beforehand? I mean, at least I feel like, wow, there's some space in there, right? If you want to check, place your fingers, interlace your fingers in between those toes. You're going to notice it's probably a lot easier than it was from the very first time that we tried to do this. So when you do that one, I want you to feel like you're squeezing with your fingers, it's a little fist with those toes. Then I want you to squeeze those toes in it. So both of them are squeezing forward. Feel that? Squeeze, 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 and release. So now, I know sometimes sitting forward is a little exhausting, so place your hands behind you slightly. Just do a little bit of back bend for your own spine because we were facing forward. So you just kind of give yourself a little nice back bend. And then we're going to get back into our feet. So right foot is nice and solid. It's going to be our nice little stable piece here. We're going to bring our left foot on top. So your left ankle is just resting on top of the right thigh. All right. So this time we're going to interlace our finger. Our right hand is going to be right by our left foot. We're going to interlace your fingers into your toes. So same thing. Again, this may be one of the first times, so you can just use the tips of your fingers and the top parts of your toes first, and then as it keeps breathing as it kind of invites to be open, like, hey, I'm not going to harm you. I'm here to help you. I love you. I appreciate all that you do for me. And then it might be more open and receptive. So it's amazing how we really do rely on our feet for so much to give this attention and focus to it. It's nice. Because you notice if you really, really try to grab into it, like you're holding and hugging it, your fingers tend to be a little bit bigger at the bottom part, the phalanges. So it's just gonna kind of open up there. You might kind of squeeze it, kind of feels good. All right, same thing. So now we're going to keep that big toe between our thumb and our index finger as we on that big toe, so kind of pulling it out of its socket just gently. I mean, we're not actually trying to pull it out, but in that direction. All right, and have the big toe do its back bend. So again, this shouldn't be that intense since we did do a slight little stretch at the very beginning. Breathe here. That's just what makes it yoga. Breathing toward it. Direct the energy toward that area. And then bend it downward, away. As you bend it downward and away, you can use your left hand, the thumb and next finger, you can pull that second toe straight up. I always thought toes look kind of funny, so they look like really short and stubby, like fingers. This looks like a toe. In my mind, looks like it's part of a big fat finger without the knuckle. So just because you look funny, toe, I still love you a lot. In fact, maybe I love you more because you're so funny looking. Look at that. All right, so keep pulling there. Now we're going to go into reverse. You're going to, second toe is going to go down in the back bend, big toe up. Keep breathing. Now allow that second toe to go into its back bend and grab onto the third toe. So third toe with your right finger, or if by chance you have opposite hands, then that's fine. You're going to pull it up out of its little socket. Row. And pull that third toe downward. Now as your second toe is going forward, reverse back bend of your third toe. If you want, you can switch hands. So let's say you want to switch your left hand onto your back bend third toe. Now you can use your right hand, or if you have opposite hand, that's fine. Pull your fourth toe straight up out of the socket. You can always give it a little bit of vibrational motion if you want, kind of like a little wiggle. And then bend your fourth toe down as that third toe is still in its back bend. Then we're going to go in reverse. So the fourth toe is going its back bend. I'm going to switch my hands around. So fourth toe is back bend, third toe is forward, and then I'm going to release the third toe, and I'm pulling onto my pinky toe. So pull the pinky toe up, upward, away from its socket. Bending that pinky toe down. Going to reverse. Pinky toe is in this back bend. Fourth toe is bent down. release that. Got do a nice little finger check. So if you want to interlace it real quickly. Okay, now release it. Put the left foot onto your mat or in front of you. Put the heel down there. I want you to spread your toes wide. So see how your toes are spread out. Good job. Now grab that left hand and place your fingers in between those toes. It's like really easy, much easier. Kind of like pull in, make a fist with your your fingers first, and make fists with your toes. So there's both trying to make fists. You breathe here, just feel that nice little motion. And release. Good job. All right. Now we're going to get back onto the ground. We're going to do what's called deer pose. So in this case, I'm going to be facing toward you so you can see me. So you're going to have your left foot, your left calf in front of you. And then you're going to have your right leg, the shin, be to the side of your mat. So you're going to have it different angles. Let me give you a little bit of some precautions. So the main objective for this is having your sits bone, both sits bones connected to the floor, which is going to be hard. So what's going to happen is your body's going to have a tendency to want to roll away from your back foot. All right. So back foot. Though your back leg, your right leg is going to be coming behind you, check to see what your foot is doing. So for an ankle stretch, if you have your foot, let me go this way first. If you have your foot behind you, that's a possibility, okay? But be kind. So some precaution. Knee issues, if your knee really bothers you, a couple of things you can do. You can either place towels or maybe a bolster underneath that front knee, and or bring your heel, the front heel, closer to your groin. Does that make sense? So I'm going to be at an angle slightly here. So this is deer pose. So really we're working on the hips a little bit of rotation. Try to see, like for me, I notice I'm trying to, my body's tendency to go away from my right hip. You don't want to force anything. So there's this one book in the Bible, Habakkuk. Yeah, I must have always skipped it, but I came across it, and it says, "The sovereign Lord is my strength. He makes my feet like the feet of a deer. He enables me to go on the heights." So while we're here, you may feel your right ankle stretching. If you want, just to kind of not think about it, you can give yourself your left foot a slight little massage. So now that you see your left arch facing towards you, you can use your left hand, press it from the heel, just kind of run it along the rim of that entire left arch area. So you just imagine yourself from the back of your heel on the side, running all the way up, pressing into it, all the way up along the arch to your big toe. So if you want to make this a little bit more methodical, you can kind of catch it with your breath as you like inhale, and then as you exhale, just feel yourself slowly pressing it through. Okay, that's an option for you. If you want, you can use both hands. All right, to get out of this pose, you are going to allow your body to move away from, tilt away from that back foot. So we're going to lean over to the left side. Kind of bring slowly as you release your right foot behind you, straighten it in front. We're going into our butterfly pose. Oh yeah, feel that. So we're going to go into our cobbler's pose, or Baddha Komasana. we're again working a little bit with hips, but now both feet are in front of us. Oh, look at this. So look down at your feet. And now you can sense how one foot, prior your left foot, feels a lot more relaxed than your right foot because we gave our left foot a massage. So in this case, I'd like for you to just grab your fingers around those toes, but then have your thumb right underneath that all of that the big toes for both feet. So just massage right under there, kind of like where the bunion would be at. So you'll know if you happen to have bunions, you definitely don't want your thumb to be right on there, but I want you to be right underneath. You can feel where that bone structure is there. So just be kind. And you can choose if you want this deeper hip opener, you can always choose to bend a little bit more forward. You can feel that. Or if you want to kind of just stretch that lower back. So your choice. All right, this is a transition release. We're going to get into our deer pose on the other way. So place your right hand behind you, behind your shoulders. Going to lean over toward the right side. Bring your left foot behind you. So you're going to tuck it back or into that deer pose. So it's almost like everything's in a 90-degree angle with each other. And again, sometimes you'll sense how one side is easier than the other side. So check that back foot, your left foot. Is it tilted outward, or are you going to try to have it more of a ankle stretch? So be kind, because sometimes, because of stretching and such, we get foot cramps. So that's very common, but this is one of the things we're going to try to prevent things by working on both the strengthness of those muscles that we did beforehand and then also the stretching. So again, reminder, if by chance you want to be, need to be a little cautious with your knees, you can always have this right heel come closer to your body. So that's an option. You can also place like a bolster or a blanket or a block or something like that underneath this right knee. So that's an option as well. If you're like, well, what about my left ankle? Because that's really bothering. What you could do is you can actually place a towel and roll it up and place it underneath that ankle, and you feel how it kind of releases in that sense. So everyone is different. So what may even work for you today may feel different from, let's say you try this again in a couple days. So this is where you become a lot more aware of what your body prefers or as it opens up and stretches. So I'm on this side feeling a major stretch in my left quads. Surprise. So guess what? Let's be kind to our right foot. That's just sitting there waiting for us to give them a massage. So same thing. You can use that hand, that right big thumb, and go from that bottom base of the heel along the rim side of the entire arch, rolling up to the top of that big toe. So again, you can match it to your breath. So just imagine yourself like really pressing into your breath along with the thumb, that energy. Just imagine that. Excellent. All right, nice little squeeze. Okay, to get out of the steer pose, again, we're going to lean away from our back foot. So we're going to lean over to your right side so you can put your hand underneath your shoulder, lean away from it, release that left leg. We're going to just place both of them in front of us. We're just going to shake it out sideways. Let's little mini windshield wipers this way. All right. So, talking about working on some of the muscle areas. Does everyone have a cotton ball or tissue or anything like that? So you can grab a cotton ball And this will be a couple things. So you can either be sitting on a chair. If you want to do it even standing, that's fine. You can even do this seated. It just makes it a little bit harder. So I'm going to actually get onto a bolster right now. So as you have your cotton ball, or if you want next time, even do it with marble. That's even harder. I'd like for you to imagine your toes, playing that little hungry hippo thing, your toes each between. So now it's your big toe. I want you to try to grab from your right foot, grab that cotton ball and pull it in. Okay. And then feel that, squeeze it in there. You might get some toe cramps, that's fine. And then release it. And then I want you to try to focus on that second toe to grab that cotton ball. Oh, apparently my second toe has to get everyone else to come with them and pull it in and really yank it in. And then release that. And then do the third toe. Isn't that amazing? Release. And then your fourth toe. Oh, I don't know. Now I understand why he got none. You really don't know how to grab very well, do you? And then release, and then the pinky toe. It's amazing what the pinky toe can do. I don't know if you guys are. Same thing on your left foot. So do the same, similar to your left side. Big toe, grab it in. And take your time, because the objective here isn't to just get the cotton ball. If you go slowly, actually sometimes slowly is harder. You really feel the individual muscles trying to work. And then do your third toe. And then really when you're pulling in, and feel yourself like really squeezing into it. Fourth toe. Pinky. All right, not good. Okay, so now spread your toes out wide again. Wiggle, big toes wiggle. See if you can get your second toe wiggle. Can you get even your third toe to wiggle? You can do it by itself. Fourth toe to wiggle. And then pinky toe. All right. If by chance you have one of these broccoli thick rubber bands, I want to show you these, the kinds that you get with broccolis. What we're going to do is, and if you don't, you can just use your fingers for resistance, but you're going to place your feet next to each other, and I'd like for you to place the rubber band between or around the big toes. Aha. So this isn't a way for us to check how we are standing. Sometimes when people are standing in mountain pose, you know how they always say, have your toes together and your heels slightly apart. Actually, you can see this would actually do this. But in this case, we're going to actually have your toes there. And I'd like for you to just feel itself trying to now pull, have your toes, your big toes trying to pull slightly away from each other. So it's working its own little resistance band. So let's say you don't have one of these things. What you could do is just place your finger, your index finger, on the inside of both of the big toes, kind of like where you see the creases, and just kind of have it trying to push your fingers away from it. So does that make sense? So we're just working the muscle. And you'll notice, you may notice how one toe might be stronger than the other toe. So just, again, it's awareness. And if you want to alternate, you can actually have one of the big toe going downward, the other toe going upward, and reverse. So these are like your own little resistance band, you guys. When you go grocery shopping, you now can say you're actually going to the gym. And reverse. Okay, so again, you can use your fingers as resistance. Okay, we're going to release that now. Let's get into the final stages of our massage. So I mentioned we're going to do some massage. We already did some of it. A couple of different options. Like I was mentioning a little bit before class started. If by chance you want to use oils, and for anyone who takes like Ayurveda, which is, they always call it the sister part of yoga, they actually do talk about oils a lot. I didn't realize I actually grabbed the wrong one. I thought I grabbed my fractionated coconut oil, but I also have avocado carrier oil. You can actually use even the coconut oil. Like this is one that you get at like Trader Joe's or Aldi's. The only thing is if you use that for cooking and stuff like that, chances are you want to make sure you pull it out into some separate bowls so you're not using the exact same one. So if you do any like oil pulling in the mornings, which is quite healthy with coconut oil, I would still recommend trying to get a slightly smaller container of it. So I like the ones that have in jars and such. So you can use any kind of base. Coconut oil is really good. Even sesame oil, depending on your dosha type, and we're not going to get into that for this class. There might be certain oils that might be better for your constitution, as they call it. So I'm gonna actually probably just use my avocado one just because it's easier. Now the thing is, you're gonna want to do this at the very end. So this is gonna be the end of our class pretty much, because your hand's gonna get oily, and then of course your feet. And a lot of Ayurveda practices, you actually do this at nighttime, and then some people either one or two things, they immediately go and wash it off in the shower, but you got to be very careful because it's going to be oily, so it's a little bit slick. Or a lot of times people just put on socks afterwards, and then you go to bed, which you think that makes sense because it's really moisturizing the whole area. Now, there's other things that you can add to your oil. So there's other kind of oil. So let's say you're working on the immune system, you might choose to use eucalyptus on top of that one. Or if you want it to be a little bit more relaxing, you might use something that has lavender to it. So some of the different oils have things. I'm like one of those wellness whatever from doTERRA, so I have a bunch of theirs. In the last several years, they actually have these new features where they have roller balls with the fractionated coconut oil and whatever other oils they have, which is great. So I know those guys who've been in classes, I usually bring my lavender and stuff like that, but these are actually rollers. So but you don't need to do that. You don't even need to use oils at all. But I tend to have very dry skin. When I'm out of balance, I'm a Vata. So I'm actually supposed to be using oils a lot more, especially at night. So a couple things we're gonna do. So if you grab that, you try to always want to have a towel nearby, just so it doesn't get all gross. And then just put some in your hands and just rub it around. And then we're going to work on just our right foot right now. So right foot's going to be on the ground. And I like for you to look at the top part, kind of where your shin is at. And you're going to see that bone that runs down the phalanges to your big toe. So from the very top part, we're going to really kind of press downward into it. And all the way to the very top of the big toe. Kind of like what we were doing beforehand when we were in deer pose, but we're doing it at the top of our foot now. Okay, we'll do this 2-3 times. Once that's done, now you do the same thing, but now you're going to follow down for the second, to the top of the second big toe. Second toe, not big toe. And actually, you're noticing that the oil is being pressed into your skin as well. I feel like I'm like painting my feet because my feet tend to be very dry, so it had that chalky skin. And now with the oil being pressed into it, it's like now it's like this yellowish, moist color. And once you're done with that, you go down to the third one. So it's pretty. You're probably gonna know what I'm gonna say for the other one. And you can always choose, like if you feel like the oil ran out, if you want a little bit more, you can always add some more oils on. It's funny because now I see my veins popping up, which makes sense. Think about it. You're actually helping the circulation. Down to the other one. All right. Now, having said that, now same thing. So you're going to get to the the bottom soles of your feet. So a couple options. You can either extend your left leg out, bring your right leg in front. It's whatever feels most comfortable for you. For some people, this might feel like a little intense on their knees. So you can actually have your legs higher than your hips. That might be easier. So it's whatever feels most comfortable. So now that your right sole of your feet are facing toward you, you're going to do the same thing. So you can either add on some more oil if you need to. And then again, from that base of the heel, just kind of work up. Do the same thing. Just see if you can connect with your breath and do this. And once you're there, even though you're not on the bone, but you can just feel your fascia and the tightness of the area kind of like move down the next area of your feet. You probably have heard people talk about like foot or hand reflexology. So, you know, they talk about the sole of your feet. Really, there's different acupressure points represent the different parts of your physical body. One of the reasons why people actually do like going to have foot massages, or why people wear certain kind of shoes. But also just think about the whole grounding effect. Like we wear shoes so much or stay indoors, but it's actually really healthy to be connected to the earth, to the crystals of the beach sand, on the grass, of course. Concrete actually is still made up of sand and stuff, so walking on concrete is pretty good. On asphalt, not so much, which probably would be hot anyway. All right. All right, guys. So maybe you can feel your right foot feels good. And you can extend and look between the 2 feet. And I want you to take notice, like, how does it look? And then how does it feel? All right. Ready to do the left side? So I'm going to get back up for the left foot. So we're going to do the top part. So same thing. If you're using oil, just add on some more. If you're not using oil, completely fine, because you're still getting a massage and your foot is loving you for it. So we're going to get to the top part of where the ankle shin bone is, and just kind of follow that big toe phalange bone to the top. Do it 2 or 3 times. As you keep working on this one, Romans is when I really thought of this one is how can you call on the one they have not believed in? And how can they believe in the one of whom they have not heard? How can they hear without someone preaching to them? How can they preach unless they are served? They are sent. But as it is written, how beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news. I'm wearing this T-shirt that was with with sandals and says, "Not all who wander are lost." And sometimes we don't understand why, we happen to be on a certain path or meet someone that can be completely random, and yet there's a purpose and a reason for it. A lot of times God actually have us meet someone or be in a situation um, or in a room or in a car or airplane or in a race that could be exactly the purpose for you to share, be that messenger you were sent. So um, it's it's pretty amazing. All right, so if you front foot's ready, you want to work on the back into whatever position is possible. Now, again, give yourself a little bit of break. I don't know about you, but my back, being bent forward hurts. So I'm going to go back, put my hands underneath my shoulders, and go into the slight little, almost like a camel, but I'm seated. You can always do camel and actually do a toe squat if you want. Give it a little bit of release. Your body's going to appreciate that. And whenever your body's asking for something, since you're a lot more aware of it, please, please, please go and listen to it and be able to make the appropriate movement. Okay, so now we're going to do the same thing at the bottom of the soles of the foot. You start from the heel. And really feel your energy, like you're really pressing into it, not to harm it, but just really, it's almost like that directness, right? Sometimes, sometimes there's a nice little soft kind of massage feels good, but I like it deep into it, like really press into it. I think God knows how to speak to me, because sometimes I think God has to like whack me in the head like, hello, I've been trying to tell you this. And so it's the same kind of thing. Everyone's gonna be different. That's the amazing thing. We're so unique, and He knows. Don't forget, even though you're just getting that stuff, don't forget the ends, the sides of the really kind of, that's really where it gets dry too. All right. How about you guys? My feet are looking good. So now I want you to take a look at both feet. See if there's any spot, if you are using all that, seems to be missing anything. Like if you want, you can even rub a little bit above the shins, above where the Achilles heel are, maybe the heels themselves. And then most importantly, later on, you're gonna make sure you don't touch your face with your hands. But so we're going to finish up in a quick shavasana, because I know we're really running late. We're going to go into our comfortable laying down shavasana. Out of the way. Looks like I should be cooking with these. So if you have a bolster or a block or anything like that, you can always place it underneath your knees, have your feet up, or if you want, you can even have your feet up in the air. And your back is probably feeling so good to be laying flat. I tell you, that is one thing, big massage. Tuck those angel wings back underneath. Your heart is up toward heaven. Have your palms facing upward to receive what God wants to give you. And then I'd like for you to close your eyes and just stay here and connect with your breath. See if you can completely relax your hands. Your hands are doing so much work. We're going to one day have to do our hands, but our feet. Really, truly give some gratitude to your feet. But even more so, gratitude to God. We're going to bring our awareness back into our fingers and wiggle your fingers. Bring some awareness back into your toes, and you can wiggle your toes, and I bet you your toes can wiggle a lot more than usual because they're nice and open, strengthened. Oh wow, I feel wind between. As you inhale your arms over your head, extending it further away. Nice breath here, really feel an expansion of your chest, and as you exhale, bend your knees and hug your knees to your chest. Rocking a little bit side to side. If you like, you can even bring the soles of your feet up toward heaven and say, look at these. Get your fingers in between your toes for happy babies, because you can actually probably open up your toes now. And then roll over to your right side, placing your head resting comfortably on top of your right arm. Keep your eyes closed. You're going to press yourself up into a comfortable seated position. Hands resting on your legs, palms facing upward. Connect with your breath one more time. So as we inhale through our nose, we're going to exhale, open mouth breath. Deep inhale here. Full exhale. Full inhale. Complete exhale. Blending our hands together, palm touching palm, thumb resting right above our heart. Taking our chin down toward our heart. May this practice reveal that we can be sent, be messengers, share the good news, know how beautiful our feet are, more in terms of the gratitude for what God has sent us, His Son, our Savior, Jesus. Thank you very much. Namaste.